Hello and welcome to Guides.Global. My name is John Howell and I'm the editor, and with me I have Başak Yıldız Orkun, who is a lawyer practicing in Bodrum in Turkey. Hello, Başak.
Hi, John.
In this little video we're going to talk about how you should choose a lawyer in Turkey. And of course, at one level, it's very simple, isn't it? You just come and use Orkun Orkun and everything will be fine and okay. Yeah. But there are some basic principles involved here, aren't there?
Of course. The first rule, I think the lawyer should be registered with the bar.
Of course. Let's make sure you are using a lawyer, not someone who's just providing legal services without being registered.
Correct.
Beyond that, if you are a person who has got a problem, for example, relating to a divorce or relating to the importing of a boat, will you be able to find in Turkey specialist lawyers who deal with just marriage cases or just importation cases, or do all lawyers here do more or less everything?
If we look to the whole picture, I think most of the lawyers are doing most of the work, because it is very often that you will face offices consistent with one or two lawyers in Turkey. So they are more like private practices.
Yes.
So we don't have that much commercial law companies. We of course have, especially in the Istanbul or Ankara, like in the big cities, even they are within a partnership of an international, like a magic circle law firms. But if we look to the whole picture, I think it is rare to find a specialist lawyer.
Because most law firms are small, most law firms do almost everything. You'll find some lawyers, for example, who won't do criminal cases or who won't do another particular type of work because they don't like it. But generally, law firms do most things.
I would agree.
Now, of course, that doesn't mean to say that if you've got, shall we say, a difficult criminal case, it isn't a good idea to find a lawyer who has experience of dealing with cases of that kind.
Yes, obviously.
Yes. So you need to ask. Don't be frightened about asking about the experience of the lawyer in the field in which you're wanting to get
they would
involved.
be very open about that. So if the lawyer is not dealing with the criminal case at all, they would say, because we are carrying a professional indemnity.
Yes.
So nobody would be really willing to do something very a new and unexperienced in their field. So please, you should be just feel free to ask.
Feel free to ask. You won't take offence if someone says, "Excuse me, but do you have any experience dealing with this particular type of divorce?" Okay, next thing then for the international client is language skills. Many younger lawyers now do speak English, and some speak French, and some speak other languages because of the increased internationalization in Turkey.
Correct.
But you'll find very few older lawyers who are proficient in foreign languages.
Actually, for the olders, I think you may not find any.
Yes.
So, because in our faculties of law, the language is not one of the courses. So we don't really get any language in the universities unless it is a private new version of the faculties. Yes. On the other hand, even the young lawyers who can speak English, I think the problem in here is not the language, because you can easily find a sworn translator and make the conversation held by the translated with an official person. However, I think the gist of the idea, the lawyer has to understand what you would expect from the system. Comparing with their original home country legal system with ours.
Otherwise, it's like talking to a Martian, isn't it? You think you understand each other because you understand the words, but actually you're talking about something entirely different.
Yeah, this would happen.
Yes. And so one of the key skills for a lawyer who wants to advise on international work is knowing enough about the legal system in other countries to be able to say, now, I know that in your country this works this way, but in Turkey it works different. So even if it sounds familiar, what I'm describing to you, it is different. Yeah,
and I think the one of the other key matters is if you are describing something to a non-national client, you have to be clear and you have to give further details than more details than you are providing a Turkish client, because
Yes.
they didn't know the system at all. So they would expect, if you give like an initial information, they would expect the rest of the procedure will be same as much as
Yes.
with their country.
Yes.
So I think that is another matter. So you have to be really clear. And in Turkey, unfortunately, the lawyers are a little bit hesitating to give like too much details to the clients. This is not what we got used to.
Because they just assume that the person is going to know a lot of this stuff and the foreign client doesn't know it.
And on the other hand, they are thinking that we are professionals, so we know what we are doing. So it is not very common to acknowledge the client as like open as in the Europe. So we just say, okay, we are taking the case, this and that will happen, and that's it. So afterwards, neither the client nor the lawyer are like corresponding each other too much.
Yes, and that attitude actually is prevalent throughout was prevalent through many European countries. I can remember 30 or 40 years ago in Spain, an old lawyer saying to me, "Now, John, you have given me this to deal with. You don't need to worry about it.
Exactly.
I will tell you when it's finished."
Exactly the same.
And he would not contact you for 3 years until the case was completed.
And when you ask, they will say, "Why are you asking?
Why are you worrying? I'm worrying about this on your behalf. This is why you're paying me."
Yeah.
So this is a big difference in culture, and some lawyers in Turkey are now getting more attuned to the idea of giving clients regular progress reports and clear estimates about fees and so on and so forth, but it's still not universal practice in Turkey.
Not really, and I would say very like a small percentage are providing that kind of services.
And I guess another thing that flows from that is that in most law firms in Turkey, you do not have a big support staff. You do not have lots of secretaries and administrators. Very often it is just two lawyers working together with nobody.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. Actually, the administrative staff is not very recognized in business of law.
So that means that they just don't have the facilities to be able to produce lots and lots of updates and reports.
Yeah, and it is important in terms of like a paperwork, like archiving. I think we need to improve ourselves with that matter.
So there we are. It's a different world, and you have to recognize it's a different world. And if you're looking for a lawyer here in Turkey, you try to find one who is going to be able to communicate clearly with you and is going to be prepared to keep you updated with what's happening in a way that you will understand.
Correct.
If you're in the lucky position that there are in your area 2 or 3 lawyers like that, I guess it's the one you get on with. This is an important relationship, and if you feel well towards the person concerned, you're likely to get a better result.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yes. Başak, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
We hope you found that useful. If you did, as usual, please like this video or follow the channel. Do remember that Başak has written a whole series of legal guides for us, available at www.Guides.Global. Have a look at those, and of course also have a look at our book, How Things Really Work in Turkey. That is available through the website. Hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.